You all, thanks for coming today. I apologize. I didn't realize it was 15 after 10. The library was presenting some financial literacy program to me for consideration, and I had a lot of questions, and I didn't realize it was after 10 o'clock. Thank you all for being here, and again, I do apologize for starting late. Today is just an opportunity. The library has asked us if we would do some chat sessions with the community, and so we extended the number of critical conversations, and we identified this as an area where we would come and do a chat session. So it's Saturday morning. Our goal is to get you out of here by 11:30 or so we can get to another event that I've got to go to and do another presentation for another group in the community. But nonetheless, we appreciate you all being here. The first thing I'd like to do is just introduce the staff members that are here before we get started. I see Dr. Simpson, our Deputy Superintendent for School Leadership and Improvement. Dr. Jay Wilson, our Chief Human Resources Officer. Mr. Walker, y'all know Mr. Walker, that's our transportation. We got Chief Trey with us. Of course, we got Mr. White and Warren back there, our coordinating, our communications department. We're glad to have you. We've got Mr. Lopez, our interpreter here, ready to help us out if someone needs interpretation services. We've got Mr. Wendell Speaker right here, our governmental engagement, our partnership chief. We've got our great counselor, Elise Dunn, doing great work with our students, and we'll give them a chance in particular. We may want to pitch some. If you have questions that we can pitch to them, and that gives them an opportunity to share. And of course, we got my wife over there, Laverne, in the back, who hanging out with me today. So I won't get too busy. She spends a little time with her husband, right? So it's good to see all of you here today. But thank you for being here today. Mr. White, you want to just give everybody a flyer or hand out a brochure?
If I may.
Please, let's give out the tip line as well. And I will be just mentioning some of these things, and they're here to share other information as well. What you have in front of you basically is a little visual that I decided we put together just to help me with the conversation and to give people something to look at as we are having a conversation. And so notice in the center, of course, we're committed to high performance, and what our work in our district is, we're moving our district from where the majority of our students are performing at the two lowest ends of assessments. We're moving our students to the two highest ends. And so when it says committed to high performance, that's exactly what we mean. We are in the process of changing the culture in our school system. We're not going to be satisfied with low expectations. We're not going to be satisfied with minimal or low outcomes. We are shifting the paradigm. And so you'll see that theme or that motto, whichever word you choose to use, you'll see that quite a bit because we are working to create a high-performing culture in our school system. To that end, we've identified our principals, our team. We are working with our principals. The research has identified 9 characteristics of high-performing schools and school districts. That's our framework. And we are ensuring from having a shared vision and a focus to alignment of curriculum instruction and assessments, parent and community engagement. We're working to ensure that those characteristics are consistently infused in every school and throughout our school system. And we believe over time we will see a fundamental shift of outcomes in our school system. What you see here on this one page would be in the middle of the page, you see our students. Everything that we do is about our students. My role as a superintendent is to ensure that all the services, the instruction, the resources, always are focused on students. Always focused on students. We have no reason to be here. I have no reason to be here if it were not for our students. And so our students are at the center of every decision, every initiative, every action that we take. It has to always be Now, directly around, surrounding our students are the 5 areas of focus that are very dynamic. They interact with one another, but they're very critical to moving our district to levels of high performance. The first one at the top is academically challenging and safe environments. Basically what that means is we got to make sure that teaching is at the level that it needs to be in every school, in every classroom. And so you'll see the other, the oval shaped figures, instructional practices. We've identified instructional practices in every content area. We've aligned those instructional practices with the thinking that students should have to be successful in STEM careers. And so we're seeing our students, and we're working with our teachers to ensure that our students are developing their critical thinking skills and that they're learning their content at very high levels. We're ensuring that we have teachers in every classroom. You should know that in the last several years, we've carried about 250 vacancies. This year, we're down to 70 vacancies. 70. And I can tell you that I don't think we'll ever get to 0 because every month we're having somebody resign because life changes and they got to come and go. But from 250 every year to down to 70 is pretty good in a few months. And so we're working to ensure that's the key. Because if you're going to achieve high levels of performance, those kids have got to have a good teacher in the classroom. They can't just sit in the classroom all year with subs in and out. It just doesn't work that way. And then you get good outcomes, or you expect good outcomes. So we're working to ensure that instruction is where it ought to be. We're supporting teachers and principals, but we're monitoring classrooms, we're monitoring schools, we're supporting them in this work. But we have very clear expectations. When we walk into a school, I expect to see teaching and learning. I don't expect to see kids hanging from lights. I don't expect to see kids congregating in halls when instructional time is going on. If kids are in halls, it ought to be pastime. You all know the time between classes. But when the bell rings for class, I expect to see teaching and what? And learning. And we're seeing that in our schools. But not only are we teaching in our classrooms, we know that it's important that our students have safe schools that they're attending. And so we've got several things that are going on. In addition to ramping up our student code of conduct, in addition to ensuring that we support our principals and teachers and work with parents and all to ensure that our students have the support that they need, we've implemented a tip line and the app, and hopefully you have the school system app on your phone. And we're working to ensure that our students feel like they can report whether they leave their name or anonymously, if they're being bullied, if they have issues, personal issues that they need some counseling for, if they are in a compromising situation and they just need to let some adult know so we can respond. And so we're working to respond very proactively. Chief Treywick has given you information on the tip line. It shows you in there how to exactly go to the your mobile app store and download that tip line. That information, Chief, has been sent to all parents on all the platforms that we have. It has been shared with all of our students. We have posters in the schools, etc. And so we have, and when the student reports a tip, it goes directly to the school resource officer and to the safety and security department, and we follow through with that. And so it's just another tool that we're using to help create that safe environment. I think, and Chief, I know you're working on this, we're also working to create some PSAs, public service announcements, but we want our students to be the face of those public service announcements.
Yes, sir.
So, Chief, you want to share what we're doing with those PSAs?
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Dr. Beasley is absolutely correct. We think the best philosophy is to engage our students, because if these students are pretty much like my students, if I like my kids, when I say it, it doesn't mean much, but when it comes from their peers, it means absolutely everything. So that's what we're doing. We're engaging the high school to come up with a PSA to address guns in schools. So they're working on some skits now, and we're going to do a PSA, and you should be seeing that in the next few weeks. We're also working on a tip line to address bullying and other harassment that goes on in the schools, etc., and to also push out participation in the tip line. So those are two that you're going to see very soon, and we're expecting to really have some success with those PSAs. And then in closing, we're also going to look at some PSAs for inclement weather and for other environmental challenges that we might encounter. But again, we want to engage the students, get their participation, and we think we're going to have great outcomes.
What we're trying to avoid, some people, we deal with very complex problems. and some people try to come up with simple, what they think are simple solutions to complex problems, and they don't really work. And so I think the goal is to get children, students, get them owning their environments, owning their schools. It takes a bit more energy, it takes a little bit more intelligence. But once they own it, I can assure you, every weapon we've recovered this year is because of another student telling us somebody has a weapon. And that's the way you want it. That's the way you want it. And then we've got parents who need to do their part. Every weapon that we've recovered this year has been from a student who got the weapon from the house. Does that mean anything? So we got to get parents. There's a responsibility. If you've got a weapon, you got to make sure that those weapons are not accessible to our children. Because, you know, sometimes they don't think, or if they are thinking, they'll bring it to school. And they'll show, they'll show you the show and tell. You know how they think sometimes. But those are the things, and we're fortunate that we've not had a violent incident and someone to get hurt and killed. But we don't want to not be proactive, because we don't want those incidents to occur in our schools. Period. But it takes all of us working together to ensure, America is a free society, which means that on any given day, people are carrying things, and the schools are just a microcosm of the world, aren't they? And so we're working diligently to ensure that our schools are safe. The next area that we're working on is the academic and wraparound support. You should know that we are part of our strategies. We've got quite a few students who are right at the cusp of reading on grade level or doing math on grade level. So we're in the process of providing interventions for those students. Not only tutorials and face-to-face tutorials and some what we call at the elementary level EIP, Early Intervention Program, and REP at the secondary level, Remedial Education Program. But we're purchasing a tool that we'll be presenting to the board at the end on Monday, as a matter of fact, to purchase a reading and math tool that will allow kids to remediate their deficits, but also once they get remediated, get to grade level, it accelerates. So I'm trying to take the district from a remediation mentality to an acceleration. I want more kids, not just at grade level, but well beyond what grade level. So once we've identified all the kids right now who are at the cusp, they're not at grade level, but if they get a little bit of help with some intervention, we can bump them over to at least that grade level and then get them beyond grade level. So we'll be purchasing that tool. Our goal is to get it purchased and rolled out by the beginning of second semester. And once we get it in place, we'll have it in place every year thereafter, which means we'll be able to start the school year with it in tool. And the great thing about it, the kids will be able to use it over the summer too. So if they're not in school, they can keep working. No reason for anybody to stay below grade level if they're below a grade level in reading and math. We're providing student services and counseling. You've heard of system of care. We're mobilizing various resources to ensure that our kids, when things happen to them outside of school, outside of the classroom, that may impact what happens in the classroom, we're trying to make sure that we mitigate for those challenges. Sometimes it could be mom and dad are in a bad situation. It could be they don't have food. It could be they don't have health care. It could be that they need some eyeglasses and they don't have eye insurance, etc. So we're working with our community, all the partners that would come to the table to ensure that we have a process and resources to help mitigate all of that. I don't want any excuses when it comes to students not learning what they need to learn in the classroom. And so we've got our counseling department here. If you want to just have a conversation with Dr. Dunn about all the things that we're doing to ensure that our students get the support that they need to be successful in that classroom. And then another area that you see there is that social emotional learning and restorative justice. Dr. Simpson brings that to, in his role as a Deputy Superintendent for School Leadership and Improvement, to help our adults and all of us. When our students make silly decisions, that they shouldn't be penalized for the rest of their lives. And so we're working to help train us in how we respond to our students, and then to help our students make decisions and think about their decisions. We're working to ensure that we know how to respond to, students basically who come from traumatic situations, who may come from poverty situations. We're trying to ensure that as adults, we're informed. And so when a situation occurs as the adult, we don't take it from 0 to 10, but we know how to de-escalate it. Does that make sense? And so that type of training is going on and will continue to go on. The third area that's an area of focus for us is professional development. We know that our students will grow and we as adults grow. So we're working on content. We want our teachers, if you teach math, you need to know math. If you teach science, you need to know science. So we have been working diligently this year to ensure that our teachers are offered and participating in content training. Of course, pedagogy, that's our nice little educational way of saying instructional strategies, ensuring you may know the content, but the question is, do you know how to deliver the content so that the students can learn the content? And so we're working on ensuring that our teachers are very much immersed in strategies. I like to describe it this way. They should have a lot of tools in their toolbox. So they'll know they can pull out a different tool depending on the situation, the students, and how the students are basically learning the material. And then of course, leadership is an area that we're working on. We know that organizations that improve have leaders that are the impetus for that improvement. So we want to ensure that every school has an effective leader, because if you want a school to improve, you gotta have effective leadership. And clearly at the district level, effective leadership. So once we improve our leadership, we know that our district will continuously improve. The fourth area is family and community engagement, governmental relations, and partnerships. We're just working to engage our community. If we're going to be a high-performing community, and we will, it will be because the community is engaged. The community is informed, they know what the areas of focus is, they're supportive of the vision. When there are issues, we come and we discuss those issues and we work through those issues together, because we are only having the conversation to make it better for who? Our children. And so we're working to truly engage our community. Hopefully, if you've not been, you can come to critical conversations. We're addressing the community needs, or we have community meetings. We've got the superintendent advisories, and we've got a parent university. We're working to expand our mentoring. If you're interested in being a mentor, you can see Dr. Alicia Dunn. We've got a process, and you don't have to pay for a background check. We got all of that covered. We just need mentors. We need mentors. And then, of course, we've got a new partnership office for those who would like to work with us. We're trying to plug people in. I try to tell people we're not trying to do 1,000 different things. You know, some people come and everybody has a vision and a program. We're not trying to do 1,000 different things. We've identified our areas of need, and we're trying to plug people in to help us address those needs so we can do a few things and do those few things very well. And then the last area would be communications, public relations, and marketing. Very important. So you'll see, you have seen, hopefully you've seen, an increased emphasis on getting the word out about what we're doing at the school system, whether it be family engagement, critical conversations, superintendent advisory, events that are going on in the school system. You'll see an increased use of social media. So we know there are different people on different platforms, so we're just trying to cover all of our bases. We're using Infinite Campus for district-wide announcements. Every parent in the school system should be going to Infinite Campus. Why? Because that's where you go to check your grades, right? And if you got a child in school, somebody ought to be checking their what? Grades. So what did we decide to do? If parents should be going to Infinite Campus to check grades, then we decided to put all of our announcements where? In Infinite Campus. So if people are checking grades, any district-wide announcement, they'll see that as well. And the schools have the opportunity to put school-level announcements in Infinite Campus. So there's no reason for people not to know. No reason for anyone not to know. If someone says, I don't know, you gotta help me figure out why. Because we're putting it on tons of platforms. Now we may make mistakes, maybe we didn't get it out there, we didn't post it. But if you let us know, we will correct that quickly. Because we have the infrastructure to ensure that people are informed. Why are we doing all of this? Why are all of these things working together? Very dynamic relationship, because this is what it takes to produce a high-performing school system. So I just wanted to go through that to let you know what our areas of focus are. Very quickly, just a few things you may not know that we've implemented this year. We've got a new firefighter EMT pathway at Drew High School, Mundiesville High School. We've got kids right now learning to be firefighters. They'll graduate going into the job of firefighter if that's what they choose to do. We've got a new film and theater academy at Mundiesville High School where we're connecting connecting our students to all of the film industry that's going on in the state of Georgia. And so we're excited about that. This year we're preparing to implement 2 aviation programs, one at North Clayton High School next year, and one at Morrow High School. The aviation programs will allow kids, if they want to fly, be a pilot, they can be a pilot, but if they don't want to be a pilot, if they just want to work on the planes, they can work on the planes. So they'll be able to get the training that they need to springboard them into their additional training beyond high school in order to do that. Our goal is to make sure we have students before they graduate from high school that they have their pilot licenses. That's what we're working toward. And we're working, this year we're planning for the Political Leadership Academy at Jonesboro High School. We have a great mock trial team there, but we want these young people to be informed, involved in every level of politics, at the local level, the state level, the federal level, and the international level. And so that Political Leadership Academy is one that will provide our students access to just a great curriculum. You've ever wondered how to become an ambassador? That's what we will be training our students at the Political Leadership Academy, how to become ambassadors, service representatives of their government abroad, if that's what they choose to do, how to pass the service test in order to become an ambassador. So we'll be doing all of those things. We're planning again this year, but we're excited. And we're looking at the various programs, and I'll conclude with this. As we finish SPLOS 5, that's our special purpose local option sales tax, where everybody, when we buy things in our county, we pay 1 penny, right? You don't even miss it, do you? 1 penny. 1 penny goes to school construction. And so as we're currently in SPLOS 5, but we're also getting ready to gear up for SPLOS 6. So as we finish in SPLOS 5, we'll be starting on building a new Jonesboro High School. And so we will do a build up, tear down in phases, and so we're excited about that. We're going to start the design for the new Morrow High School in SPLOS 5, but once we get SPLOS 6, we'll have the money to actually build a new Morrow High School. And we're looking at either a North Clayton High School or Forest Park Middle School. We hadn't figured out which one is the greatest need, but we've got some conversation going on, one or the other, but somebody's going to be getting a new school in SPLOS 6. We're looking at a college and career academy in SPLOS 6, where we have a central location, state-of-the-art facility where kids come from schools across the system and participate in innovative career tech programs that will springboard them into their own businesses, that will springboard them into post-secondary options, etc., that will prepare them for jobs that even may not exist today. And so we're excited about that, and we're partnering with Clayton State, Atlanta Metro, Atlanta Tech, and some others who are at the table with us to help us ensure that we have programs that our students can leave our K-12 institution and go directly into post-secondary options, aligned seamlessly. So we're excited about that. And clearly we'll also address some other issues, HVAC issues, technology, transportation in our SPLOS 6. And I'll say this, while the law doesn't allow me or any of us as educators or in the school system to tell you how to vote, I'm voting yes. And I tell people, if we don't vote yes, someone says, well, how are you going to do these things if we vote no? They won't get done, right? Because that's the only revenue source that we have for capital improvement projects. And so people can vote how they want to vote, but you can't say what the children are not doing if you don't give the children the resources that they need to do better, right? And so I'm encouraging you all to get out there and get the word out and talk to your neighbors, your friends and families, and please, as we become that high-performing school system, and our data would even suggest, as we get ready to push out our new CCRPI data, that we are significantly improving our outcomes. Let's continue that with that and build on that momentum and continue to produce the high levels of performance and ensure that our facilities are ones in which our students feel pretty good about coming to school in. We're working on the instruction, we're working on the culture of the organization, we're moving our school system in the right direction, but we'll continue to need your support in order to do that. So I'll pause here to see if you have any questions, comments, responses, etc. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, yes. My name is Jennifer, and I was listening to you talking about various schools are getting different programs. But what do you do with the kids who don't have it at their school? They're interested in it.
We do have some options. All schools have programs, and notice, and that's why we work with the principals and the community and the students. All schools have various programs, And so some programs are duplicated in other schools. Some programs are unique to just those schools. But we do have some school choice options. Let's say somebody wants to do aviation, they're from another school. There are some options where they can apply to come to this school to participate in aviation. So we're trying to close we're removing any barrier to access to innovative programs. And really the purpose of a college and career academy is so that students can come from every school and participate in a central program. So we don't have any barriers to accessing those programs.
I know one more question. I know you say you partner with the colleges. Okay, are the kids going directly to the colleges?
We have many who are going to the colleges, but we also have the colleges coming to us.
Okay, are you providing transportation? Okay, because I had a friend last year and her child was going to Clayton State, but she had to drive her child there because there was no transportation set up.
And sometimes some parents choose to drive their students.
No, she didn't have a choice.
But we have, and that may have been the case, I want to say last year, that we began providing transportation. Am I correct, Mr. Walker? So they may have started that way, but once we were made aware, we provided transportation. We're even providing transportation. I got an email the other day from Upward Bound. Our kids in Clayton were in Upward Bound, and if you know anything about Upward Bound, it's a great program where kids can actually get accepted to college, go on full scholarship, etc. They sent me an email saying, we got all these kids. How many kids was it?
83.
83. They said the doctor basically emailed me, but they don't have a way to get there. I said, I got a whole bunch of school buses over there. So I sent it to Mr. Walker, and we had it resolved by the end of the day. It's like, no other problem, we can work to address the problem. And so those kids are participating. Almost 100 of our kids are participating. What college is that? I don't remember for some reason. Metropolitan. 100 of our kids in Upward Bound, which is an excellent program. I used to teach for Upward Bound when I was a high school math teacher. An excellent program for students to get prepared for college. They get that college experience while they're in high school, and they give them all the tutoring support that they need to take the SAT, ACT, and get acclimated to college level coursework. So it's a great program. So thank you for the question. Very good. So check with her to see if she's having transportation issues and send me an email if they still are. Okay. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is John Daly. I'm in ninth grade at Team Marketing School of Arts. I'm looking forward to taking dual enrollment in the summer because I still can't take the enrollment during the school year to get much in this baby class. So I'm going to have to take the SAT in December, and there's no enrichment for like SAT practice at school. So like, is there a way to?
Do you know I love students? Because they tell you true. First of all, dual enrollment, you should be able to take dual enrollment at any time. So I want you to see Dr. Simpson so we can address that. And SAT enrichment, every school, Dr. Dunn, every school should be offering some type of SAT enrichment.
Yes.
And so that should not be an issue either. So we need to make sure we close that gap as well.
Which school?
We may need to
Still
we may need to make sure, because in order to participate in dual enrollment, you got to take the AccuPlacer, right? You got to make a certain score in the AccuPlacer. But that's part of the
Yes.
process. So check with, you can see Dr. Dunn today, okay? But those are two things that, again, as adults, our goal is to ensure that your access is not restricted. You should be able to do dual enrollment, and it's my expectation that you do dual enrollment, that as many of our students as possible do dual enrollment, whether they go to the college campuses or the college campuses come to us. Okay? Ms. Ladd.
And the library has practice tests, any kind of test, ACT, SAT, GED, GRE, MCAT, all that stuff. So we
Do you all have the AccuPlacer? You have a practice test for AccuPlacer?
I
That's
think we
the test.
do. I
That
think
would
that's
be
in
helpful
Oregon
to know as
Express.
well. We need to get that word out there. One of the challenges that we're trying to get over, that's why we're partnering with Metro College, where we'll be offering a few, Dr. Duncan described it, a few courses to help kids even get ready for the AccuPlacer. What we're learning is that some of the kids want to do dual enrollment, but they can't make that cut score on the AccuPlacer that they've got to take in order to get accepted to do dual enrollment. And so we're working.
With Atlanta Metropolitan College to offer the pre-math course, it's a 6 week course.
well, Atlanta Metropolitan instructors would come on site and teach children the skills that they need to be successful on those college admissions exams. So that prevents having to take those remedial courses upon entry into college.
Save you money in the long term. Very good. Okay. All right, any other questions, comments? Feel free to come on. And we'll come back
I'm
to you.
trying to get everybody's chance.
Okay.
Okay, my next question is, if a parent comes to you and says, oh, I would love to come into the school, volunteer or whatever, but I have a bad experience with the office staff, teachers not being welcome. So how do you address that situation?
I'll let Dr. Simpson is responsible, directly supervising schools, and I want him to respond.
Well, first I need to find out why there's not been a positive experience when you encounter those schools, because that's what we expect. We expect for there to be a positive experience. Because you volunteered your time, we need to make sure we find a way for you to be able to assist or enhance what we do at the schools. That's a case-by-case basis, so if you had a negative experience, then we need to talk about where that took place. And so I can have a conversation with that particular school and the leadership at that school so that does not happen again. We welcome any and all of your time in which you want to volunteer and assist us. And that's the way it should have been. So I apologize if that was not the case. But it should have been a positive experience, and the school leadership should have been able to lay something out for you as to how in which you could go about volunteering. As Dr. Beasley mentioned, the background piece, the background check piece, of course, is something that's going to be dealing directly with children. You'll need to have the background check. But outside of that, there are many opportunities in which we can benefit from your assistance and your help. And we need to find out exactly what school it is.
Okay, because I partner with the United Way, and parents come, and I hear that, and I also experienced it myself at one point.
And again,
that's why they don't come back.
Right.
Because either they don't know where to put them to volunteer, or either they just have a bad turnout.
Right, well, that doesn't reflect or resemble the high performance that we're committed to, let me just say that. And so it's incumbent upon myself first to make sure that's corrected, and that does not happen again. And just know that any time that concern comes to us, it doesn't fall on deaf ears. If you were to not even give me the school and you were hesitant about it, and it's something that I would address with just the general body of principals, just so that they are aware and they acknowledge and know how important it is for us to welcome any and all volunteers, and especially our stakeholders, that they want to help. We need to find ways in which they can help us. So if you can provide me with information, I'll certainly address it.
Sir?
And with the comment too, we also discovered, and Dr. Beasley discovered last year, that there was a huge barrier to participation in the volunteer program, which he mentioned, that $45 background fee. Well, that has been totally eliminated. And we've given training, Dr. Simpson and Dr. Smith, to the principals so that they can articulate that to the parents. So if your colleagues do not know that, all of you all, please let them know that there is no fee now, and that we'll expedite the process.
Chief, can you briefly distinguish where it's necessary to do the background check and the different levels of volunteers?
Yes, sir, very quickly. Most volunteers only require a level 2 background check because you're going to be supervised by someone on site. And a level 2 background check is where we get your pertinent information, name, social security number, and we run it in the system to make sure that you don't have anything out there that would restrict you. A level 3 background is a background where you're going to solely be with those children independently without any representation from the school. At that point, we have to run a more intense background check that encompasses your fingerprints so that we can run it nationally. But again, that's the only one that requires a $45 fee that has been removed. But most volunteers do not require a level 3.
Hi, my name is Josie Victor. I wanted to share with some of the other parents and also thank you for addressing some of the concerns of parents from our last meeting. I wanted to share that because I'm close friends with a teacher, and she told me that at some meeting you guys had recently that they were chewed out very badly about not putting them grades in. She said very bad. I don't know what happened, but she said very bad. She said she was missing a couple, and she got pulled aside, So to take the things that the parents are sharing with you in these meetings. She also added that seems to be a pet peeve of yours, and that you said you do not like that, and the grades need to be in twice a week. So I just wanted to thank you for that, and I wanted to just share with the other parents that you really are listening and talking to these teachers. Now, you can't personally just make everybody do everything you wish you could, but you're doing what you're supposed to, and it's appreciated. I wanted to say that.
Thank you. And it's really about a culture. You know, they may call it a pet peeve of mine, but I just like, how can a parent help fix a situation if the grades are only entered the day before they get the report card? And I tell teachers, think about your child. You know, you need that opportunity. If the child is struggling, you need to see that so you can do something about it. And if they wait to hold all the grades till the day the report cards are printed out, and then it ends up being an F, how can you help? And so it's really just being really giving people what you would expect, doing for others the way you would like it to be done to you. And I don't know if that's a pet peeve, that's just the way I believe we should all as humans do things. And I know we're busy, but the expectation is if you give an assignment and you collect the grade, 2 to 3 days is long enough to get the grade in.
But some people just nod and just nod. You actually doing the work, so that's what I wanted to share.
How are you addressing the student enrollment in these classrooms?
Well, the board last year at the elementary level, we reduced the student-teacher class sizes. So we're not seeing a major issue with enrollment that I'm aware of. But we monitor that. The challenge that we have, that we got to balance, in order to reduce the teacher-student class size, you got to increase the number of teachers. And that's a funding issue, and also that creates more vacancies when we already have teacher shortages. And so the question is, would you rather kids be in a class would you rather the class go up by 2 students from 28 to 30, or would you rather those 30 kids sit in a class with a sub all year? And so it's a matter of us managing the priorities and what we can do. And so we try to keep an eye on the enrollment. We do have our eye on the enrollment. I honestly, and we're almost in November, I've not gotten any complaints that any of the classes are just overly overcrowded. Dr. Simpson may have had it, he just didn't share them with me. But I've not gotten not one complaint that they thought that the classes were too large. Mind you, the board reduced class sizes last spring for this school year. So I hadn't heard any complaints. So if you're telling me that there's an issue, let me know specifically so we can at least look into it, okay? It's okay.
Okay, I have been to several financial seminars, and every time I go, I keep hearing, they never taught me this in school, they never taught me this in school. And I was thinking, however, I think it's a good idea, maybe you should think about a program like, say for instance, a financial investor, financial planner, stuff like that, to try to, because kids, they have different things they want to do. Everybody don't want to be an athlete. Everybody don't want to, into science and mathematics. Like, even with mathematics, have an accountant come in, somebody that's in that field, instead of just giving the teacher the curriculum, and they're not even in that field of study, they try to teach that. Because if the teacher is not in that field, the kid's going to get bored. But if you have somebody who's in that field and know what it takes to get to that point, that would be a good idea for the kids to, engage in that type of class or various classes for financial wealth.
And just so you know, and I hear you, I think that the work, clearly we have standards in our curriculum where teachers address financial literacy, etc. My meeting today with the library was to look at another instructional resource that teachers can take full advantage of that we're considering. I think an additional part of the work would be principals and teachers at the campus level, like you have a career day, or career awareness. That's really the role of the principal. to work with their partners and to bring in partners and experts to do those career days and expose kids. And that's what I would expect good principals to do.
Right.
Yeah, we have it in the curriculum, but it's great to have days where you've got doctors and lawyers and teachers and others coming into the school. So Dr. Dunn, I know we have career awareness going on, and I am sure at every school.
Every school, yes, we have career awareness activities, and that actually happens, where they invite accountants in, and then different financial institutions come in, and even to apprise students and families about financial literacy. For example, it happens at North Clayton High School, Wells Fargo. They come in and they do classes on financial literacy with the students. So it does happen.
We have at the elementary level career awareness lessons. Financial literacy is one career day. We have career expectations at the middle school level and clearly at the high school level. All of our students have career pathways, and they all are required to take economics, etc. And so we've got a K-12 vertical articulation or alignment of experiences. But I would always say, I try to, whatever school your children are at, work with the principals and the PTAs, because often the PTAs are a part of that, to be a part of those career awareness days and opportunities. And Ms. Lett, you must have planted her here for me to really take that literacy information, and it's a great resource that they just shared with me. But it has
I'm gonna be working with them.
oh, so you are a plant. But it's a great resource at the, but based on what I've seen, that teachers can use very easily and that parents can use. I think that's the key as well, because sometimes, and I've shared this with them today, teachers sometimes get, oh, we want the teacher to do so much, and they only have so much time to teach reading and math, and so we need resources that kids can use at home and get the families engaged and use these resources. So that's one thing I like about what I saw today. It gives us an opportunity to get the whole village involved. Not only the teacher who's already engaged in the instruction process, but the parents and all, and even churches and faith-based communities, etc.
Yes, I agree.
I'm assuming some principals are already taking advantage of, to your point, junior achievement still exists. I remember doing it when I was in middle school, which it come light years from what we did, but just the concept of what entrepreneurial skills sets include, and they have increased their process to the point where there's a full-blown curriculum. They send out volunteers to come to the school, so it's not overwhelming to the teacher. They spend the whole day there, and they've gamified everything, which is the new term too. So it's like board games to learn how to handle your personal finances, and so just as a resource to share with the new principals. I'm not sure what they have for high schools, but I know for sure they have a very well fleshed out middle school curriculum that includes these concepts.
I just met with one of our partners, and we're in contention for a regional office for junior achievement. We're finalists, which would service six different counties, but it'll be headquartered. Hopefully, we have our fingers crossed, be headquartered here at, near the Morrow Center. And we're actively right now working with junior achievement as well.
That would be awesome, because I know they service heavily like in the Fulton County area, because they have that downtown biz town, which is awesome.
And that's exactly what we're trying to do here, because their calendar is so full at the World Congress Center.
Yeah.
The Junior Achievement Discount and Finance Park. If you've not been there, you should. It's a wonderful experience. Right now, Clayton we are starting to get our students involved. We're trying to plug them into their current calendar, which is already filled. So we're working and Junior Achievement is leading the effort. We'll need partners to basically create that same experience for our students right here in Clayton County. In the Morrow Center, as a matter of fact, is the location we're looking at. And so, just so you'll know, it takes about a $6 million initial investment and about $1 million to expense every year thereafter. If you know companies and partners, you want to tell them they want to be a part of this, because it will be a great opportunity. You mentioned financial literacy. All 6th graders in our system will go through the Junior Achievement Biz Town, and then all 8th graders will go through the finance park. It's a day experience that is awesome. I'm telling you, they love it. They love it. But just a great opportunity. So thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Sir?
Dr. Beasley, Dr. Simpson. I'm going to plagiarize the commander.
Chief, all of us. Commander in chief.
I have the right not to remain silent. What I want to speak about is garbage on our roads. And this has been addressed through the county commissioners. And they want to pass a tax on to the homeowners about picking up garbage. But it's a multi-pronged thing in cleaning up the county. You want to educate. I want to clean. I want to clean through education. The greatest army that we have is our children in school. We got an army of young ones, middle-aged ones, and grown ones. And I think this is where our garbage problem can have a beginning of being solved. There's no one thing that's going to solve the whole problem, but my attitude is through education. And I was told by them to present it to you. I was just waiting for an opportunity, and this is it. Somewhere on this circle of what you want to do, I'm not saying institute a brand new thing. I'm saying work through this circle to educate our children that throwing a candy wrapper out, or this out, or that out, or in our society today, we're having children raising the parents. And they take this education home to the parents. Now, I know in our last session here, Dr. Simpson mentioned things that children have problems with at home. Abuse in many ways. And no, I'm not saying send that child home to talk back to the parents. But I'm saying in a manner, somewhere on this circle, that cleanliness, you teach them to brush their teeth, you teach them to wash behind their ears, you teach them supposedly to clean up around their desk, you teach them in social justice how to interact. I would like to see a program working through this with just posters or something mentioned on a daily basis that cleanliness is not just the body, not just the mind, but the spirit of America. The spirit of America. I was in the Army. You didn't so much as throw a cigarette on the ground. You field stripped that cigarette. You may have put the tobacco on the ground, but you took the paper and put it in your pocket and the filter, if you were so disposed. That's all I got to say.
I think that's a good point. And part of our work, and I appreciate you for sharing that, we know that we are really working toward changing a culture in a community. And that's why I want the students. So you'll see more PSAs, public service announcements.
What is PSA?
Public service announcements. So you'll see more of that, and Chief is over there nodding his head because we
I
have.
thought that was something to check for my.
Not nobody else in there.
I put on the gown.
So we'll have public service announcements, and that's something that we're going to use our students to help create that culture of high performance. And so, Dr. Dunn, if you could work with Chief and others as we get that message out, we're using our students to help change their culture.
Yes.
And our young people, we were discussing with the team, Generation Z in our schools, they're very socially conscious, it's a very mature generation. And so we're going to leverage that to our advantage and give them some opportunities and responsibilities relative to changing that dynamic in their community. We know that we still have a part to play, and that's why we're working with the county government, the commissioners, chairmen, and others, the mayors, to ensure that we're working collaboratively to improve education, but I think improve the quality of life for our community overall. And so I think even the Political Leadership Academy, that's something, you know, why is it important for us to pay taxes? So we can have trash picked up and things of that nature.
I don't want the attitude that a lot of young people have, the attitude that they're giving somebody a job by throwing out trash. You know, that's, I hate to use the word, but that's tinkle hole.
We got you. We appreciate the feedback. Any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I am in the school. I'm a counselor at Charles Blue High School. And I can assure you, dual enrollment is up and running at Charles Blue. We just finished a parent and student lunch and learn with Atlanta Tech. They offer dual enrollment courses right here at the Perry Center. So transportation is not such an issue as it would if they were going to Atlanta Tech in Atlanta. We finished a lunch and learn yesterday with Clayton State University. A lot of our students and parents were there. And what we decided to do was something a little bit different. And we offered that during the students' lunch. And parents were invited to come, and it was a good time for the parent and student to just kind of interact together and talk about dual enrollment and what it's all about. We do have the firefighter program that is part of our pathway. But one thing we discovered right now, today, the Clayton County Fire and Emergency Services are ready to hire our high school students that will graduate in May of 2018. I hosted 2 sessions of that where I had Sergeant Jarrett and the fire department. I don't know anything about the fire department. So I had them come down and they spoke to our seniors in 2 sessions. The students' reaction was so positive. They were able to actually enroll, apply right online. So those students that will be vetted and that will graduate on time in May can walk right into training, all those kind of things. They talked about the benefits, they talked about the medical, and the salaries. If I thought that I could be an EMT and start at $48,000 with only a high school diploma, you can't get any better than that. So we are doing some great things in our schools. I was just commenting earlier when I came in, Ms. Lopez. She works at International Center. We've used that program a lot because everyone in our school does not speak English. I'm not going to learn Spanish, Vietnamese, or any of that. So I'm grateful they're there. I called Ms. Lopez yesterday morning about, 8:15? And said, I need you to wake up about 6 or 7 parents right now so we can get those conferences going and we schedule our conferences. So we are doing some fantastic things in the county department, thanks to the direction of Dr. Dunn, and she's staying on us like she's staying on your teachers. We're doing some great things there.
We're all staying on each other.
We're all staying on each other.
That's it, because that's what our children need. Yep. Anyone else? Well, I won't just pull it out of you. It's been great. I am, if you want to join me, I'm going to Mike Blanton's town hall meeting. I've got a 12:30 presentation over there. I'm sure the same thing I shared with you all. And I'll just say this. Remember, recruitment, we're all recruiting for our county. We got to get good messages out there. We got to work through our issues, get them resolved, but don't get stuck. Keep it moving. But we need to get the positive things out about what our students are doing. As we work to hire more teachers, even as we get through this year and we start preparing for next year, when teachers Google where to work and they consider Clayton, they need to see good stories because that's what draws people to our community. And so we want to recruit, but we want to retain people as well. And so just remember that, everybody. Let's get the good messages out there. Not saying everything's perfect, but that's okay. We're working on what's not right. Get the good messages out there.
I work at the Riverdale Library, and we're having a program next week, actually, November 9th, for veterans. It's a Veterans Appreciation Day program, for which we would love to have maybe junior ROTC of any of the schools to help us. We're replacing our flag.
Just get with Dr. Simpson, and he'll help you connect with the schools.
Okay.
Since you're right there in Riverdale, we got some schools in Riverdale that we give support.
Okay.
Very good. That's what it's all about. All minds clear? Thanks, Ms. Lett, thank you. You want to close out? Thank you for the opportunity.
For those of you that I don't know, I'm the director of the Clayton County Library System. We would just like to thank Dr. Beasley for coming back and invite you to come back at any time that you would like to. We are partnering with Dr. Beasley, so as he introduces new programs, the library supports those, and some of those programs we have introduced, and they're going to support us. So we're going to have a great marriage this year and in years to come. So we thank you all for coming out. If you have other questions and things, I know you can email Dr. Beasley. If you have questions or comments about the library, you can email me or stop at the desk and let anybody know. So thank you all. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.